How many of you have heard or read the sentence before, you need to build a base before starting hypertrophy training? This whole idea of having to build a base before starting hypertrophy training has been thrown around for so many years at this point, and it has never been true. But why? Well, let's start with what is even a base? Most of you probably cannot answer that question. Anybody who says, hey, you need to build a base before starting hypertrophy training, if you would ask them, what is a base? They would be like, oh, fucking no. 90% of the people who say you need to build a base do not even know what a base is. If you would ask them, they couldn't explain to you. So that's already a major red flag. Nobody knows what building a base means because it doesn't actually exist. But when you eventually find people who are actually able to answer the question, if you find 10 of those people, I would say that a lot of them would say completely different things about what a base actually is. Because even between the people who know what a base is, there's really no consensus on what it actually means. Some would say, oh, you need to be this many kilograms, oh, you need to have trained for 1 year, so you need to have finished this program, oh, you need to have done 2-plate bench, 3-plate squat, 4-plate deadlift. But the answer is not being the same from everybody, or not even really being similar, already kind of proves that the base doesn't exist in the first place. But I would say that the majority of people would probably talk about a strength base. You need to lift X amount of weight on squat, bench, deadlift before being able to start hypertrophy training properly. The problem with that idea is that your goal is hypertrophy. Why would you start training for strength when your goal is not strength in the first place? Especially because you will get the strength numbers anyways through hypertrophy training. Like, if I'm just starting training right now, why would I start training for having a 2-plate bench before starting hypertrophy training when I could just start hypertrophy training now and I will get a 2-plate bench eventually with that anyways? It doesn't make any sense. People will say do strong lifts 5x5 or starting strength first to build a strength base, which are two programs that are very close to my heart. I made several videos talking about them, and I'm extremely passionate about letting people know how terrible these programs are when you have goals in hypertrophy. These programs are extremely dogmatic. They will tell you that it's my way or the highway. They will beat shit into you. They will later on limit you when you start hypertrophy training, and they build a terrible fucking base for hypertrophy training. The strength and the muscle that you will accumulate on these programs will go mostly, first of all, to your lower body, then to your torso, and that's it. No arm training, no calf training, no ab training, nothing. You will look like a fucking idiot, you will have spider physique, you will have really fucking skinny arms compared to your torso, and these imbalances will take several years after that to correct, which you could have avoided in the first place by just starting with hypertrophy training first. I know because I went through that route, and this is exactly what has happened to me. Now, we've already asked our first question. What is a base? Most people already fell out because they weren't able to answer, but let's take the people who were. I will ask another question. Why should I build a base before starting hypertrophy training? Now everybody who actually answered what a base is like, huh? Nobody has a fucking idea why. Nobody is going to be able to tell you. They would just say, oh, that's just how it goes. That's just how you should do things. But even the people who are going to be able to answer, their answers are going to be complete garbage. There's really no reason to build a base before starting hypertrophy training. Something that some people will say is that you need to build a certain level of strength before starting hypertrophy training because, oh, if you're lifting 3 kilograms of biceps curls, it's not really going to do anything. First of all, I disagree. Why wouldn't it do anything? It doesn't matter how much you lift. If it's challenging, it's going to do something. But the main problem with this idea is that these programs, stuff like starting strength and strong lifts 5x5, and just getting your squat, bench, and deadlift to higher numbers will not actually get you stronger in your isolations. Yeah, obviously if you get a bigger bench you will get somewhat stronger triceps and your tricep extension and your tricep pushdowns will go up a little bit, but not nearly as much as if you would have just started training them from the very first day. And I will ask you one thing, if getting stronger in the big three is what's going to help you actually lift relevant weights when it comes to isolation movements, why is it that most elite natural powerlifters barely lift any weight on stuff like bicep curls, and then when you look at GVS for an example, who is barely able to bench 100 kilograms, 2 plates, he's curling the 60s for reps. How did that happen? He doesn't have a good base. He can barely even bench 2 plates. He cannot even bench 3 plates. But he's bicep curling way bigger weights than a lot of natural elite powerlifters who are benching over 4 plates. How did that happen? And also, try doing these strength programs, and after that, go on the tricep extension and you will get humbled. Let's take 2 people. One person is going to train 1 year hypertrophy training, doing isolation for triceps, biceps, everything, doing just a complete beginner hypertrophy program, whereas there's another guy who is going to do starting strength or strong lift side by 5, doesn't matter. Also for 1 year, they will bulk at the same rate, and at the end of the 1 year, let's see who is lifting more relevant weights on their isolations. Is the first guy's bench going to be bigger? Maybe not. Also, maybe yes, because these programs actually fucking suck. They are designed to make you plateau, but they bicep work, they tricep work, calves, neck. First guy is going to smoke the second guy out of the water. There's no question about it. Now also another question, and this is the main thing, what happens when you jump into hypertrophy training head first without having any experience with strength, without ever lifting, just going straight into a hypertrophy program? You know what happens? Nothing. That's what happens when you start bodybuilding without building a base first. Nothing. There's nothing that happens. Nothing changes when you have built the base. When you start training for hypertrophy, straight away, you know what happens? You get stronger, you get more muscular. The same thing as what would have happened if you only started it after building a strength base. And also, why couldn't you do isolation exercises from day one? Why? Why does it matter? What difference does it make if you only started after building a base or if you started from day one? You know what's going to be the difference? The guy who starts from day one is going to have a way more balanced physique, is going to have way bigger and way stronger biceps, triceps, calves, neck, side delts, rear delts, abs, everything that the big 3 doesn't target in priority. And the muscle groups that I have listed before are more than half of your entire physique. And what happens after having built a base that suddenly makes it okay to do isolation? Nothing. The only thing this does is distract you from training according to your goal. You have to train for your goals, not for somebody else's goals, and not for something that's completely unrelated to your own goals. This whole idea of having to build a strength base before starting hypertrophy training when your only goal is hypertrophy is like telling a guy who wants to learn to sprint fast to run a marathon first. Why? Train for your own goals and do not get distracted by people telling you to build a base and stupid shit like that. If your goal is to build muscle, train for that. If your goal is to build muscle everywhere, in your arms, in your neck, in your calves as well, not only in your quads and in your chest, then do a normal, balanced hypertrophy program. Thank you for watching and watch this video next.